I'm Sally, a 50-year-old housewife. Both of my children are now adults and have moved out, living on their own. Now that they're independent, I've started working from home along with my housewife duties. My husband has been very supportive of me working from home. When I first started, I was only making about $200 a month. But over time, my income increased to $600, then $800. I'm grateful for the clients who give me work. My sister-in-law lives nearby. She's my husband's twin sister, so she's the same age as him, and we're all the same age. We've been somewhat close, but I've never really liked her. Even talking to her feels like a chore. My husband also doesn't get along with her. He thinks she's arrogant and loves to show off. My sister-in-law has a 24-year-old son, Tommy, who's bedridden due to a serious illness he's had since he was young. He can hardly move, so he's always in bed. One day, I got a rude and bragging text from her. She told me she was going to Hawaii, staying at a luxury hotel for a week, and hinted that we could never afford such a trip because we don't make as much money. She even insulted me, saying I must look like an old lady and couldn't wear a swimsuit because of my saggy body from having 2 kids. She bragged about being slim since she only had 1 child and claimed she looked much younger. I was shocked at how rude she was. It's true that my body changed after having kids, but my sister-in-law is no supermodel either. I wondered why she thought she had the right to insult me like this. And most importantly, I was curious about what she planned to do with Tommy while she was away. So I asked her, "What about Tommy? Are you leaving him alone or having someone stay with him every day, maybe even overnight?" "There's no way I'm doing that. It's too much trouble." My sister-in-law scoffed when I asked how she planned to care for Tommy while she was away. "He'll be fine just sleeping at home." I left some drinks and snacks by his bed. I was shocked. "That's horrible. How could you do that?" She snapped back, "I don't need a lecture from you. My life's been ruined because of him. I wish I never had a son like that. I couldn't stand it anymore." "Then I'll take care of him. I'll come get Tommy right now." "Fine, do whatever you want. I'd be happy if he was gone," she replied. I drove the short 5 minutes to her house, taking my station wagon, which could fit Tommy's special wheelchair. When I got there, she looked at me with contempt. "You actually came for him?" "Yes, I did." "I feel sorry for Tommy," I said. She sneered. "He's just a burden, lazing around all day at his age. You're a full-time housewife, so you're perfect for each other." "I'm actually working from home," I told her, annoyed. "And not all housewives are lazy." "Yeah, sure, remote work. That's not a real job," she laughed. "My husband and I are both full-time employees. You're basically just a housewife, so it's fitting if you spend the rest of your life taking care of Tommy." "Fine then. Let's go, Tommy." Tommy looked sad, and it broke my heart to see him treated this way by his own mother. I understand how hard it can be to care for a sick child, but it's cruel to say such things in front of him. Even as an adult, hearing that would hurt anyone deeply. Once I brought Tommy home, my husband David arrived. "Oh, Tommy, why are you here?" he asked. "Uncle David, I'm sorry," Tommy said sadly. I explained, "Your sister was planning to leave him alone while she went on vacation, so I brought him here." My husband shook his head. "No need to apologize. My sister must have lost her mind. Leaving him like that is awful. Tommy, you can stay with us from now on, and we'll take good care of you." Tommy smiled a little. "Thank you, Uncle David. Thank you, Aunt Sally. I absolutely can't stand my sister-in-law and her husband. They're really mean and selfish people. But I've always liked Tommy. Despite his illness, he's kind, thoughtful, and incredibly smart. Even though he hasn't been able to attend much special education, he's naturally bright. To me, he's always seemed like the definition of a smart kid." When I heard my sister-in-law and her husband actually went to Hawaii, leaving their bedridden son behind, I was shocked. I couldn't believe they would really leave him alone like that. What would they do if something happened to him while they were away? They wouldn't even be able to come back quickly. My husband was just as surprised. Seriously, my sister and her husband must be out of their minds to go to Hawaii and leave Tommy behind. "I agree," I said. "I know I've never been in their position, taking care of a sick child, but leaving him alone without arranging any help or care services. If I hadn't gotten that text, we might not have even known he was left behind. Just thinking about it scares me." "Yes, it's terrible," my husband replied. "I don't have experience caring for someone with a serious illness myself. My own in-laws are healthy, and they've always said they'd go to a senior home if they ever couldn't take care of themselves. So I've never been a caregiver. But even without that experience, I can't imagine how she could leave her son alone with only a drink and walk away from him like that. Since Tommy has a serious illness, he qualifies for welfare support, and there are even short-term care facilities that could help if his family ever needs to travel. When my sister-in-law and her family returned from their trip, they actually came to our home just to be rude to us. "Here, this is a souvenir for you," she said. "It's perfect for you guys." "What is it?" I asked. "Some seashells we picked up at the beach. We have plenty, so we're giving you some," she replied, almost mockingly. "We don't want them," I said. "Oh really? You're rejecting my kindness? Maybe you'd rather have some driftwood then." "We don't want any of it," I replied firmly. "By the way, is Tommy doing okay?" She rolled her eyes. "Not that I care about a useless child like him." I couldn't believe she'd say that about her own son. That's so cruel. "How can you talk about your own son like that?" "Don't act like you understand," she snapped. "Do you know how terrible it is to raise a child with a severe illness? I want back all the money I've spent on him." I took a deep breath and asked, "Well, what about what you said before? About leaving him with us? Would you really be okay with us adopting him?" "Do whatever you want," she scoffed. "Who would even want a child like that?" With that, I closed the door, and she and her husband left. After talking it over, my husband and I decided to officially adopt Tommy. Although he was initially heartbroken by his biological parents abandoning him, he slowly began to smile and feel happy in our home. Even though he's bedridden, Tommy can use his hands, so he spends time using a tablet and smartphone. One day he looked thrilled. "Look, my work is going to be published in a literary magazine." "A literary magazine?" I asked, surprised. "Yes, I've been writing stories as a hobby. Since I'm bedridden, it's something I can do. It's a bit embarrassing, though." "There's nothing to be embarrassed about, Tommy. That's an amazing hobby." "Can I take a look?" I asked. "Sure, this is the first story I wrote," Tommy said. I read Tommy's short story, and it was incredibly moving. "This is amazing. I can't believe how good it is," I said, genuinely impressed. Tommy explained, "I just started writing on my tablet, and people liked it. So I wrote a longer story, and this one even got published in a magazine." "I had no idea you had such talent," I replied, showing the story to my husband, who loves reading. He was just as amazed. "This feels like real literature," he said. "Yeah, I admire authors like Fitzgerald, Hemingway, and Dostoevsky," Tommy shared. "I aim for that kind of melancholy feeling in my writing." Soon, Tommy's work was so popular that his novel was going to be published in hardcover. He chose the pen name Scott Weil, inspired by F. Scott Fitzgerald and Hermann Hesse's Beneath the Wheel. His book became a bestseller, selling out at local bookstores, where it even had its own display. Then, an unbelievable moment arrived. Tommy won the Pulitzer Prize. We were all thrilled. "I can't believe it. You worked so hard for this," I said, hugging him. Tommy, filled with pride, said, "Even someone bedridden like me can become a recognized writer. No one should ever give up on their dreams." A press conference was scheduled to celebrate his achievement. Tommy was nervous as I wheeled him onto the stage in a special wheelchair. Facing a crowd of cameras, he introduced himself. "I am Scott Weil, a bedridden author. Since childhood, I've lived with a serious illness, spending most of my time in bed. Books were my escape, and I wanted to give back by becoming a writer. I'm grateful to everyone who reads my books and to my adoptive parents, who welcome me with love." Some journalists asked difficult questions about his adoption. Tommy calmly responded, "My biological mother struggled with my illness and may have grown to resent me. I can't blame her for that." Many people reacted with shock, calling her a terrible parent. But Tommy stopped them. "Everyone has their own challenges. Please don't judge her," he said. Afterward, my husband and I helped Tommy into our modified car so his wheelchair could fit easily. As we drove home, we couldn't help but feel proud of how far Tommy had come. My sister-in-law and her husband were waiting for us when we got home. "Tommy, he won the Pulitzer Prize. I'm so happy. Come live with us again," she said, suddenly changing her attitude. It seemed like she thought Tommy would make a lot of money now. "No, I'll keep living here," Tommy replied firmly. "I'm not going back to that house." But I'm your real mother, my sister-in-law insisted. My parents are Sally and David, Tommy said. Give us the prize money. No, this money is for my mom and dad, not for you. It's for Sally, Tommy explained. My sister-in-law didn't like that answer, even though she wasn't short on money. She had always been good at spotting opportunities to make quick cash. She demanded the $15,000 from Tommy's Pulitzer Prize, but Tommy wasn't backing down. I don't see you as my parents anymore, Tommy said. When I was young, you insulted me all the time. I didn't say anything bad about you at the press conference, but you often said you regretted having me and even wanted to abandon me. Do you know how much that hurt? You should be the one apologizing. My sister-in-law snapped. I'm the one who raised you all these years. Give me the money. Her husband also kept demanding the money, and it made me sick how greedy they were. They had money but still acted desperate, like they didn't have enough. So I decided to turn things around. You love money so much, I said. You're selling things on online marketplaces, aren't you? You're that desperate for cash. What? She asked, confused. You're selling seashells and coral, right? What's the deal with that? It's just a souvenir from Hawaii. Everyone buys seashells to decorate their homes. No, it's not okay. Taking a few seashells is fine, but taking coral is not. Even if it's dead, it's wrong. Hawaii's official website says it's illegal. You could even face a fine if it's considered malicious. What? No way, she shouted, denying it. Well, since you're selling them, you're definitely breaking the rules. I'm going to report you, I said, heading inside. Good luck getting caught. As we walked into the house, my sister-in-law and her husband were left fuming behind us. After we contacted the police, we found out that my sister-in-law was selling a lot of seashells and coral online. It wasn't just a few, it was a huge amount. I started to think she was doing something illegal. She probably thought it was okay to take coral as long as it wasn't alive. But she didn't know the law, and that could be dangerous. I reported her to the online marketplace, and I think it was a good way to get back at her for everything. Since then, my sister-in-law got in trouble with the police and had to pay fines. I hope she learns from this mistake and understands how serious it was. After that, she stopped coming to our house, and I wonder if she's scared I might do something else to her. As for me, I wouldn't do anything unless she did something bad to me first. But honestly, I'm glad she's staying away because I don't want to deal with her. Now I'm focusing on taking care of Tommy while working from home. I also have a caregiver to help, so I'm not doing everything alone. It's tough since Tommy is bedridden, but I'm happy to be with him. I want him to keep writing his novels without worrying, and I hope his books become more popular around the world. Our kids love Tommy's novels too. They'll be coming home soon, and I hope we can all have a great time together as a family.